Hey guys, it's TsubakiSwagg and I'm coming to you with a review of Rogu Horaizun's episode 12, The Forest of Lagrandia, if that's how you pronounce it. I'm used to Spanish pronunciations of words, so I'm still learning how to pronounce a lot of Japanese words, so bear with me. Anyways, it picks up where the last one left off at, where Shirory, Akatsuki, Henrietta, Krusty, and their subordinates went to the Eternal Ice Palace, or Ice City, to speak to the nobleman who is pretty much the president of the people of the land, because the people of the land are starting to be in an uproar because the adventurers, who are the people who were brought into the game after the apocalypse, are pretty much interfering with their plans, and they're pretty much trying to like run Eldertale. Well, it's not even Eldertale anymore, but this version of Eldertale now, and the people of the land aren't okay with that. So the nobleman invited them to his palace to speak to them and pretty much get on a common ground, you could say. And while they were talking, they were pretty much trying to get to know them and study them. Well, the people of the land were trying to study the people who created the round table, which is Shirory and everybody else in his group. So it really wasn't to talk to them much, it was more for the people of the land to study them. So while they were at the ball, everybody was watching them. Like, all the people of the land that were there were watching them and studying them. And of course, Akatsuki and everybody were feeling kind of uncomfortable because they were being watched like that. But while they were doing that, everybody else is still at the training camp with Nagutsu and Marie and Nyanta. And they still plan to take all of the lower level people like Minori and Toya and Rudy and Suzu and everybody else. They still plan on taking them to the dungeon so they can pretty much level up, which is what they're doing. So during all of that, they show them like making the trip to the dungeon. And the night before they left, Minori called Shirory. She called him and was pretty much saying that she was worried about going the next day, and he told her, as long as you remember what I taught you, you should be fine. But of course he didn't say this, that she's still going to have to learn a lot of stuff on her own. There's only so much that he can teach her, which she doesn't understand yet, but she'll figure it out later on. So after all of that, while they were venturing to the dungeon, all of them were getting tired because they had to carry these huge packs. But of course, like, Nagutsu and Nyanta and Marie are used to this stuff because they're higher level, as opposed to most of the people who are going to go through the dungeon, which are like in level mid to late 20s, except for Minori, who is only at level 21 compared to everybody else. But they split. Well, when they get there, they tell them about the dungeon, which is the Forest of Lagrandia, and they tell them like to go left is for intermediate people and to go right is for beginners. Once they get inside the dungeon, once they get inside the dungeon, and so they split into groups, and all of them, like Minori, Toya, Rudy, Isuzu, and everybody introduced themselves so they can better get acquainted and better know each other and know their skill sets and know their levels and what they can bring to the party and better strategize. And when Minori tried to do this, Rudy, who is, I don't even know how to explain him, he's a weirdo, but Minori was trying to pretty much get a strategy together, and Rudy just ruined everything. And then they just they went to rush into the dungeon, and Nagutsu and Nyanta stopped them, and Nagutsu reminded Toya of what he had told him previously, which was because he's a samurai, he is supposed to be the one that pretty much absorbs all the attacks that the enemy brings onto the party, so that way they can attack the other party. So with that, Toya was like, yeah, I remember, and gave thumbs up, which really reminded me of Naruto, the way he did it. But he gave a thumbs up, so they went into the dungeon, and they started walking down there, and well, of course, Rudy was being a butthole and trying to show off and stuff when he really has no room to, because he's one of the lower level people in the group. But he was trying to show off, and every time somebody tried to outdo him, well, they really weren't trying to outdo him, they were just trying to help, but he thought they were outdoing him, so he would get angry and try to show off more. And doing so, he walked right into a trap, and they got attacked. And the first three that they fought, Toya was a big help in the fight, and he took most of the blows and was able to distract them away from everybody else in the party that pretty much annihilated those three. And then during this, well, after that, Rudy was like, oh, I'm so wonderful, and you must have fallen in love with my magic. And he put his hand up and accidentally caught an arrow between his fingers. And there was an archer up like on a balcony that was shooting at them. And Toya, being the samurai he is, he ran to go fight him and then scout out the rest of the area. And then there were 5 other skeletons like in a cave. So after they pretty much had to abandon the mission and run out of the dungeon being chased by all these skeletons. And that was pretty much the end of their journey for today. But after all that, it cuts back to Shiori and Akatsuki and Henrietta and everybody sitting at a table talking about what they think the people of the land are trying to, like, why they summon them there. And Shiori pretty much hit the nail on the head when he said that they want them to be on their side. Like, they wanted information about them because they know that the people of the land know that the adventurers are advancing way past what the people of the land could ever do in the game, because they weren't made in the game. The adventurers weren't made in the game, so they can advance way past anything that the people of the land could ever do. So they needed them to be on their side, because if they don't, it could be catastrophic for the people of the land. And that was the main reason why they invited them there, was to get them on their side. Well, get the adventurers on their side, pretty much. And then, pretty much after that, then they show Krusty walking with another nobleman, and then he sees Lady Leoncia, which is the daughter of the nobleman from earlier, Nobleman Cohen. So he went down to talk to her, and he introduced himself, and I think that they are going to have some type of love connection in the near future, because it looked like I saw sparks flying when they were talking. But that pretty much ended the episode. But me personally, I'm really liking Log Horizon. It is probably one of my more favorite animes that have came out this year, because I just recently found out about Sword Art Online maybe like 5 or 6 months ago, and I marathoned that because it was already over by the time I watched it. But compared to Sword Art Online, this video is more refined, as one of my subscribers said, well, commented on my impressions video. But it is a lot more refined. It has like the same basic concept of like players getting stuck in the game, but it's more about like you get to know the characters more, and it's more about like actually dealing with people as opposed to just fighting monsters and trying to get through the end of the game. They're actually trying to better themselves within the game. So, yeah. Well, that's pretty much the end of my review for Log Horizons. So, please, 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 as always, remember to comment, rate, and subscribe. And this is TsubakiSwagg saying adios.